Hi there, Pink Fresh friends. It's Leah. Welcome to today's live on YouTube. I am going to just um, give you guys a few minutes to find us here before we get going. It looks like Zomara has joined us as Pink Fresh friends. It's Leah. Turn that down. Sorry about that. As well as Barb. Thanks for joining us. I am excited to be getting a chance to hang out with you for a little bit today. We're going to create a fun slimline sized card today. So we offer a couple of stencil sets that are seamless. And so what that means is you are able to create many different sizes with the stencil. So we're going to take a look back at when we released a few months ago called Seamless Floral Pattern. And we're going to actually use it for a slimline. So you'll get to see how to use the stencil in a seamless fashion. So it looks like we have some more people joining us. Hello to Tracy and Karen and Diane and Maggie and Brenda. So Heather Hoffman is on a little family getaway right now. So at some point, Kinnery will be jumping on. So Kinnery will be our moderator in the sky today. Just so that's just an FYI. And she should be here momentarily. I'm just doing some final little bit of prep work before we get going on our card today. It's been a busy week, so I was finishing up prep not too long ago. And I see there's Kinnery now. She's joined in. She's commenting as Pink Fresh Studio. So with that being said, once I flip this camera around and we get going on my card, I don't see as many of the comments as I do right now. So Kinnery will do her best to answer all of your questions. But if for some reason both of us miss your questions, just feel free to ask it again. We weren't ignoring you. We just didn't happen to see it. Hi there. I see we've got Teresa and Debbie and Carol and Osaki also jumping on. Excited to have you guys here. So so we're going to get flipped around and get going here shortly. But before we do, I wanted to mention we give away a $15 gift card code at the end of every live. And all you have to do in order to be eligible for that $15 gift card is just do what you're doing now. Chat and leave comments in the chat function. And you can chat with me. You can chat with your fellow viewers. You can answer questions, all of that. Now, underneath the video, there's also a share button. And if you click on that, you can share it in an email with someone. You can share it on your Facebook page. You can share it in a Facebook group if that's allowed. Just verify that it's allowed. When you hit that share button and share it with someone, just come back in the comments. Let us know that you did, and that acts as an extra entry. Barb, we are so super excited for our Create and Connect event as well. And it's so nice to hear that you are too. And we look forward to spending that weekend with you, crafting and hanging out. Hi, Donna and Laura and Claire and Kim and Janet. Okay, friends, I think we have enough people on that we can get going for the day. I'm going to set aside my little prep work here and we'll finish that as we go to assemble our card a little bit later. But let's go ahead and get this camera flipped around, and we are going to start doing some ink blending. So give me a minute as I transition to my other camera. Okay, so there's that. Let me check this one setting here. There we go. Okay. So it has been pretty dark and gloomy here today. So if it seems a little bit darker today, that's why. It's been quite a rainy day. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are going to be using the Seamless Floral Pattern stencil. And it is an A2 size stencil set, but it's seamless. So this is what that panel looks like when you ink blend it just once. But if you notice at the top and down here at the bottom, they match each other. And that is what makes this seamless. And it's what's going to allow us to turn this into a slimline panel versus just an A2 sized panel. So this is a super versatile, super fun floral. There's a lot of different ways to use it. And like I mentioned, we are going to use it for slimline today. So I have found the best way to use our slimline stencils is by cutting a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch block of white cardstock. And that will make it so that it lines up with the alignment guides that we have included on our stencils. I'm just going to go ahead and get this taped down onto my glass mat. I'm going to see, I feel like I've got some people, we've got some more people joining us. Hi, Debbie and Pat. Hi, Roberta. I'm excited to have you guys here today. And oh, thank you, Diana. Yes, I love, this is technically the dining room, but I love all of my windows too. Okay, so this is a 5-piece layering stencil set. I'm going to do all of the stencils in order today. So we're going to start with stencil 1. And I am going to go ahead and grab a couple pieces of tape to be able to tape it down. And then let's go ahead and do that. So when I'm doing this part, I'm going to align the guides up on the left side first. And then I'm just going to make sure that the notches hit in the right place down here as well. And then we'll go ahead and get this taped down. And here is what I'm going to mention when you are wanting to use this seamlessly. You're going to want to protect your cardstock right here. And that's because, you know, as you're ink blending, you might have a tendency to rub your brush down here and you don't want to get a weird ink blended line here. So I'm going to grab a fairly long piece of Post-it tape. You can use anything that's low tack. You just don't want it to stick too well to this cardstock here. And I'm going to cover that up just to protect that surface a little bit. And Tracy, this is just Post-it tape that I get on Amazon. Welcome, Susie. I see this is your first live. We're excited to have you today. Now, someone's asking me if I like my glass mat better than a plastic mat. I've actually never used a plastic mat when I'm ink blending, but I will say that I love, love, love my glass mat. It's super easy to clean. I love ink blending on it because it's a nice hard surface. So yes, I do love my glass mat a lot. Okay, I think I might have missed a question about inks, but it looks like Kenry already answered that. So thank you. So for this first stencil, we are going to ink blend it in Sparkling Rose, which is one of our pinks. And I'm just going to use a blending brush and I am just going to ink blend it. So our stencils make doing this super simple. If you've ever watched a live with me before, you know that I tend to blend a little bit darker at the base of the flower and then soften it as you go out towards the edges of the petals. And that just gives a little bit of added detail and shading to the flower, but you don't have to do that. You can use these stencils any way you want. You can have a really light touch. You can have a really heavy touch. That is completely up to you. The great thing about it is when you see the details, you'll notice that the ink pools around those little detail pieces anyway, which is going to give you a little bit of added depth into the image anyway. And so as you can see here, you'll notice that my brush did bump down into here. And that is why I protected this piece with that tape so that I wouldn't have a weird ink blend line on it, which would then make the panel unusable. Now, don't ask me how I know that because yeah, we'll just go with just don't ask. Okay. All right, so there is stencil number 1. Now I am just going to wipe it down with a dry microfiber cloth. Later on, oops, whoa, once the live is over, I'm going to pull it off and do it down here since it accidentally pulled off. Once the live is over, I will grab I have a bottle of rubbing alcohol on my desk, and I will spritz the stencils down with a couple of squirts of rubbing alcohol, and then it takes any leftover ink residue on the stencil, takes it right off, cleans them up, and then it's fully dry and ready for the next time you want to use the stencils. Thank you, Jean. I appreciate that. Okay, so once again, I'm going to go ahead and align the corners at the, oops, actually, I apologize. I forgot we were doing this. We were doing this seamless, so I guess we should probably do the other side. Gotta love my little brain lapses sometimes. Okay, so when you're doing the seamless, the seamless aspect of these stencils. So I lined up the top of the stencil with the left side. So we're going to go ahead this time and align the bottom of the stencil with the right side of the paper. And then do the same thing, just align those little notches. And let's tape it down. And let's go ahead and protect our surface here. And we're going to do this one more time with Sparkling Rose. Yep, Barb. Absolutely. Okay, and let's go ahead and get the second part of the seamless layer ink blended here. Okay. Now, something I will mention when you're doing the seamless part, which you'll see, is you may not get a perfect blend on that, and we'll see that a little bit later when we're doing, when the stencil's a little bit more closer together. But that's okay. You know, handmade cards aren't perfect. It's not Hallmark, and you can put your sentiment over the little area that might not be completely perfect, but it's close enough and it ends up looking really, really beautiful. Okay, so there we protected, and we've got the start to our slimline panel, and we will end up trimming off a bit of this. But I like to blend the whole thing so that I know where each stencil goes. Okay, so we're on to stencil number 2. We're going to align the top with the left side. I think someone was asking if all of our A2 sized stencils are seamless, and the answer to that is actually no. A lot of them are standalone images that really aren't meant for this technique. So this specific stencil was actually created specifically to do this. So that's why we have it this way. Okay, so for this one, we're going to do orange flowers. So we're going to start with the lighter shade of orange which today I'm going to use apricot. And then we're just going to ink blend it up. Okay. Same as before, I'm just inking it a little bit heavier in the center. Whoa. And then blending it out. Okay. And someone's asking, I think someone's asking, how do you know where to put the second stencil for the second half? And that is where this full panel of cardstock comes into play. So this is an 4.25 by 11 inch sheet of cardstock. Our stencils, our A2 size stencils have alignment guides for a 4.25 by 5.5 inch panel. And so that's how you would know that you want to align the you would want to align the top side of the stencil to the left panel, and then the bottom part of the stencil to the right side of your panel. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that is clear what I mean by that. But you just basically move it down. And since I basically have the equivalent of two 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panels, those alignment guides will align the stencil perfectly. You definitely can't rotate the stencil because then it won't be seamless. The whole point of it, and you will see the seamless aspect on the next stencil. It won't be seamless unless you keep it in the same direction. Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate that. Ink refills are listed under our inks tab in our shop. I'm sure that Kinnari will link it up here just momentarily. Okay, so we are almost done with the apricot panels here. Okay, let's wipe this down. So for the next stencil, we're probably going to have to do a little bit of masking because it's all of the flower details in one. And I will want some of them to be pink and some of them to be orange. So, but let's go ahead and get stencil. This is stencil number 3. And you want stencil number 3 to be up here at the top to the left-hand side. And we're going to align these layers. And so as you can see, this is the detail for all of the flowers. And then it also has a couple more petals in here. So we're going to do a little bit of masking. So first I want to focus on just getting the flower middles taken care of. So I'm going to go ahead and mask off these additional petals to begin with. And then I think I have one more here that needs to be masked off. Okay, so I am going to start with the pink. And so I think these two are far enough away from the pink inks that I don't need to worry about masking them, but I will do those other ones just so we don't run the risk. So for these details, I am going to do them in Raspberry Bliss. And this one, I really just get in there and get them ink blended in. Not really any rhyme or reason to it. You don't really need to do any shading. These are just really nice little added details to your flowers. So that is typically what I do. Just get some ink in there and call it good. Okay, so then let's get that wiped off and let's focus on our orange centers. So let's go ahead and take off that middle and this one. And I think I need one more piece of tape because I am going to want to mask that one off too. So then we're going to go ahead and grab Clementine, and we are going to get these flower centers ink blended in as well. Now we have a decision to make for what we want the other petal colors to be. And I think I'm leaning towards Raspberry Bliss. So then when we do the next layer for this whole seamless part, I can probably do Raspberry Bliss all in one. But I want to see this really quick with all of the masking tape taken off, just to make sure that that is actually the color that I want them to be. So I'm just going to take the masking tape off really quickly. And because they overlap, so the detail underneath it is pink. So I am for sure actually going to go ahead and make these Petals Raspberry Bliss. They're going to be a nice deep shade of ink. I'm just going to get the orange masked off so I don't accidentally get that really deep Raspberry Bliss ink blended on there. Oh, thank you so much to Heidi. I'm glad you are liking my color choices. I appreciate that. Okay, so we'll get some really beautiful deep pink blooms in here. Okay, so there are those flowers. So let's get this guy wiped down. And we are going to do the other side of it. So now that I have ultimately made the decision, okay, so let's see how this looks. Let's actually wipe the stencil down a little bit more. And let's see how fun this looks. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so let's go ahead. Now here's what I'm going to mention when it comes to aligning the stencil for the second half. So definitely use your little alignment guides, but I would also use the seamless flower. So as you can see, the seamless section is this lovely flower right here. And so we don't want to have a weird gap in between those. So I would start by aligning your alignment guides on the right-hand side first, but then I would make a little bit of adjustment and get that butted up right to that other piece of the flower that makes this seamless. I'm going to trim a bit of this away anyways, so it's not a huge deal that it doesn't go all the way to the edge. And then we know for sure that the seamless aspect will be correct. Okay, so we have all of our pieces of masking tape. Let's go ahead and actually get all of the orange done first, since the pink is a bit more, there's a bit more pink. So let's get the orange done first. So I'm just going to mask off these pieces that I want to make sure don't get orange. Oh, thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. I'm glad you guys like my color choices. I was doing very fall themed ones recently, so I decided to go something with a little bit more colorful and fun, but kind of like that late summer fun. Okay. Oh, thank you, Donna and Brenda. I appreciate that so much. Oh, thank you, Lori. Yes. Yeah. Basically, it's just this one tiny little flower that makes everything seamless, and it is so fun. Okay, so let's get these centers inked up in Clementine. And then we'll get all of those pinks done. And then we just have a couple layers left to do for the greenery. And I think that the greenery might have some of the seamless pieces in it as well. But it's been a little while since I used this stencil, so I'm not for sure, but I think it does. Okay, let's get this wiped off. Now let's go ahead and pull the masking tape off and cover up those oranges in place of the pinks. Let's see here, I think. Oop, that one we need to pull down a little bit. Okay. All right, so now we know all of these are going to be Raspberry Bliss. So let's go ahead and get these ink blended. Okay. And so, as I mentioned, you try to get the seamless part as perfect as possible. It's stenciling and it's ink blending, so it may not be perfect, but you can always put a little bit of, you can add your sentiment over top of where that ink blending happened for the seamless part, and it still looks completely wonderful. I try to get it as close to perfect as possible, but that isn't always it's not an exact science. So as you can see, it's really close. It's not perfect, but but it's beautiful and my sentiment will probably cover that anyway. And it will look completely amazing in the end. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the final 2 layers done. We've got just our leafy layers left here. So this is stencil number 4, which is the beginning of the greenery. And yes, I do see that this has some seamless parts in it as well. So Nancy, I'm actually not going to use aqua today for greenery because I've done that so often lately that I decided to go with more of a standard green today. But yes, we do love to use aqua for our greenery options here at Pinkfresh. Okay, so for stencil number 4, we're going to use mint, and that is the start of our greenery. So mint is one of our lighter shades of green, but it's a beautiful shade. And for the leaves, I typically kind of try to do the thing where I blend a little bit deeper at the base and then filter it out towards the edge, but sometimes the leaves are going in different directions, and so I don't worry too much about that. It's just mostly about getting some good color in there. Oops, don't want that stencil to move. I might need to switch out that tape here soon. Yes, Candace, all of these stencils they're layering stencils, so they're meant to create this beautiful image together. And then the great thing about this stencil set is it is seamless. And so what you'll see is these 2 pieces down here meet up with these 2 up here to make the whole panel seamless. So you can really make panels in any card size you want. And today we are going to focus on creating a slimline card panel. Okay, I think Kinnery answered a question that I missed about cleaning stencils. So thank you for seeing that, Kinnery. Okay. All right, so let's move this down. So once again, this does have part of the seamless function to it. So my suggestion is to butt it up to that stenciled portion here. Keep the alignment guides as close as possible. And then continue on with your ink blending. Thank you, Candace. Okay. And at the seamless pieces, I do tend to try to make them a little bit darker just to try to get that seam as nice as possible in there. This one would be really pretty with aqua colored leaves as well. I think it would give it a very different feel. So if you are wanting to try this card and change out the colors, I think aqua leaves would be a really beautiful pick for it. Oh, thank you, Candace. Little birdie, I typically add a supply list after the show is over into the video description. And then I believe Kinnery is linking as we go as well to the products. Whoa, my stencil, I meant to change out those tapes and I didn't, but there we go. I got the stencil back on track. Okay. Brenda, I like them both, but I agree. I think that layering stencils are a little easier to use than layering stamps. Okay, so here we have our next set of stencils. So as you can see a little bit of difference in those, but keep in mind that this ink has also sunk into the paper more than this one has. So this one will soften a little bit as well. And so we've got one final layer, and this is our leafy details. This is stencil number 5. We're going to align the alignment guides to the left-hand side of the paper. And you know what? I'm going to get a couple new pieces of tape because those ones were getting a little bit too untacky and they weren't holding my stencils down as well. This is when I should have had painter's tape. Okay, and then let's get our protector piece here. I agree, Karen. I think aqua goes with everything too. Okay, so then for our final layer, we're going to do Meadow, which is just the next color up from Mint. It's going to be some leaf layers, and then it's also going to be a couple of additional little added leaves into the image as well. Okay, went a little heavy-handed right there, but that's okay. We'll make it work. So there are 5 stencils in this set. Okay, and then as I mentioned, I'm stenciling them twice because they are seamless. And so it gives me the ability to make a slimline panel for this card. Okay, we've got our initial set done. Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, so let's align this here. This does not have any, I guess it does have a little bit of the seamless thing just in that tiny little leaf piece. So we'll get that lined up real quick. Give me a minute because it's pretty tiny. Okay. There we go. I keep doing that. All right, stick down this time. There we go. Thank you, Lori. Heidi, I don't know that we were the first ones to come out with layering stencils, but we have definitely taken it to a new playing field, I think would be the best way to say that. And for like stencils like this, like with the layered florals and such, yes, we were. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this last little section of leafy details and added leaves done. Got a little heavy-handed on that other panel, but that's okay. Whoa, once again. Get that back in alignment here. Okay. I think I just need to put a hand down on the stencil because my tape is failing me today, friends. Sarah, there isn't a coordinating stamp for this stencil, no, but we have tons of sentiment stamps that will work great for this. Plus today you'll see I'm actually using just a bunch of dies to add the sentiment to it. Oh, thank you, Visma. Hopefully I said that correctly. Thanks, Kennery. Okay, so let's see how this final reveal turns out, friends. And ta-da! Look at that. Oh, it's so fun. It's not perfect at the seam, but it's really close. And the truth is that it wasn't like a perfect alignment. It's never going to be absolutely perfect when it comes to ink blending, but it sure is fun. And it's a super fun technique to do. Okay, so like I mentioned, we are going to turn this into a slimline card. So I have my slim stitched rectangles here. And we are going to grab the largest slim stitched rectangle out of the group here. And I'm going to find, the area of the panel that I like the best. And so I am going to cheat down to this end, because what you guys didn't notice is I also made a tiny little bit mistake up here when my stencil slipped. So I'm just going to trim it off, and then no one will be any the wiser that I made a little tiny mistake. And some of the leaves will be trimmed off, and that is perfectly fine with me. I just want to have this nice, beautiful panel. For my slimline card. This would make really fun wallpaper. I agree. I agree with that, friends. Okay. So let's go ahead and get this cut out. Now, I use a Gemini Junior, and our slimline dies do just barely fit on the cutting plates. If you have a different machine without extended and don't have extended plates for it, you may have to run it through your machine twice, and not a huge deal. Okay. Here we are. I think someone said they were excited to see our holiday release, and it's a good one, friends. It just arrived to me today. We literally just got it in, all of our supplies in, or our samples, sorry. So it's a good one. I think you guys are going to really love it. Okay, so now I've got that beautiful stitched edge, which is just a perfect little added detail. I'm going to get my ink blending brushes put away real quick, so I have a little bit more room on my desk here. Okay. So, Diana, my card base, so our slimline is based off of I think it's a size 9 envelope, which equates to 3 7/8 by 8 5/8, or 8 7/8. So our slimline panels are 3 5/8 by 8 5/8. So I typically mount these onto a 4x9 card base, which I actually have 2 today because I wasn't sure which color I wanted the card base to be, whether if I wanted it to be pink or orange. And I am definitely leaning towards pink. Let's see. Although the orange is really nice. I think I'm going to go with pink though. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go with pink. So let's go ahead. And since I'm not going to stamp anything to this panel, so we can go ahead and actually get this panel onto our card base. So I've got my ginormous roll of 3M foam tape here, and we're just going to get some foam tape on this panel so that I can pop it up, give the card some nice dimension. Oh, yep, lots of votes for pink, it seems. So we're going with pink anyway. You'll be able to see your first sneak peek. Whoa. Of our Christmas release this coming Saturday on Craft Hour. We haven't revealed who the guest is going to be yet, and we will do that soon. So keep an eye on our Instagram stories for our guest reveal. So it's nobody that's ever been on our show before. They are an amazing card maker, and we are really excited to have them on the show. And we'll just leave it at that for now. Okay. My foam tape just sticking to everything here. Okay. Yeah. So thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. And I agree with you. Like, you really wouldn't know that it took, it wasn't just one big full stencil that did the ink blending. So let's go ahead. So yes, Craft Hour is on YouTube. It's YouTube Live. It's a show hosted by Jeff Lindberg. We typically have a guest on it with Jeff. Sometimes it's somebody from our team. Sometimes it's another card maker in the industry. And it's on Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Time. Thank you, Christina. Sorry, Lori. Okay, just taking a little bit of time to make sure that this looks, fairly nice and straight in there. All right, good enough. Okay, so Barbara, Craft Hour is actually going to scale back a little bit due to Jeff has a really busy work schedule right now. So Craft Hour is going to technically start being about every 3 weeks, with some months mostly being taken off. So just so you're aware, it's not going to be as frequent as it once was. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going on our sentiment. So I am doing a combination of alphas cut from some of our dies. So I've got these beautiful alphas that I pre-cut. It's the word happy. And I have used the Leah's Ornate uppercase and lowercase to create these letters. I pre-cut them and pre-assembled them a little bit because that tends to take a little bit of time. And I wouldn't be able to get this card done in an hour if I did that on camera. But I wanted to show you guys these letters. So you not only get the actual letter, which I'm only using the letter itself today, but if you can see on the die that you also get the outline. So if you wanted to add an outline to your letter to make it stand out a little bit more, or if you only wanted to use the outline and keep the inside clean, the great thing about these alpha dies is you get both options and they all cut out at one time. So really fun set. So we've got Leah's Ornate, which has these really kind of fancy swashes and stuff added to them. There's also the Heather upper and lowercase, which is the same type. It's the same lettering. It just doesn't have the swashes and they mix and match perfectly. So maybe you only want like 1 or 2 of the letters to have the fancy swashes and then the rest to be just the standards there, the standard typeface. So really fun for mixing and matching. And then there, of course, are coordinating stamp sets as well. Now, the second part of the sentiment, I have to finish assembling here, but I'm using our Phrase Builder Happy. This is a really large phrase builder set. It kind of covers a whole lot of holidays. So you've got happy birthday, of course. I'm just using the word birthday. You've got happy anniversary, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving. And these really lend themselves to slimline cards because, some of these words are a little bit longer, like anniversary and Thanksgiving. So this is the other die set that my sentiment is coming from. So let's go ahead and finish up. I ran out of prep work time when we were right before the show. So let's go ahead and get the layers of my word birthday all put together. So the great thing about the Phrase Builder dies is you get the scripted word. Brenda, that's funny. You get the scripted word and then you get the really lovely shadow. And the great thing about the shadow is it gives you that nice little bit of shadow around the word so it can help you pop it up from whatever is going on in the background and really make the sentiment shine. Now, I'm not completely sure if I'm going to use it. I did cut one out from vellum. I'm not completely sure if I'm going to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it unglued just for this moment here. And keep in mind, they do have little tittles, which are the dots to the eye. And so I always do my best to keep those. I grab those first after they come out of the machine so I don't lose them, because I do want to make sure that I get that tittle added here. Okay, so let's first things first. Let's go ahead and get the word happy somewhat organized on the front of the card. Yeah, the letters are all kind of different in size just due to all of the swashes that they have, but Kinnery is giving you a good general kind of range. My fingers have some glue on it, so they're sticking to me. It has a good general range of what they are. Okay, I think that is about where I want it to go. So you'll see, I am actually going to put the P, the first P in the word happy on the seam, the seam that I ink blended. And basically that covers up that seam right there, and you would never know. It was even there. It was even a thing. Okay, so I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid glue here. Brenda, that was a perfect time to grab these alphas when they were on sale, because they're super fun alphas. I love using them. And I realized I hadn't used them a lot lately. And so I thought they would be really fun for this card today, just because of the size of this card and the big, beautiful seamless background that we created. Okay. So I'm just going to work from edge to edge here. And I'm just dotting some liquid adhesive onto each letter. I don't worry about fully covering it. The great thing about liquid adhesive is it gives you a little bit of time to make sure that everything is right where you want it to sit. But then once it glues down, it's down there for good. Oops. And pardon me, I do have to hold it down for a little bit to get the adhesive to sit there. And then I'm gonna have to kind of put the card towards me just to make sure that it's nice and straight, that I'm not adhering this at a terrible angle. Lori, you're funny. Okay. All right. And I actually think that I want the Y swash to be a little underneath this guy. There we go. Okay. And then A, perfect. And as you can see, all the swashes kind of get tangled in one another. I kind of love that. I just like that the fanciness. But if you didn't like how all of those swashes were kind of tangled together, this is where the Heather alpha comes into play, because you could then die cut just a non-swashed version, and you wouldn't have all of this overlapping here. So Sarah is saying, tell me more about Friday sales, please. So almost every Friday, Sarah, we send out an email and we typically will do a promotion on something. And it ranges from really anything in our product line. It's just what we want to put on sale for. And so it typically runs from Friday morning at 7 to Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it's just a really good promotion on some Pinkfresh Studio products. It's a really good way to increase your collection of Pinkfresh Studio products in a more affordable fashion. And the best way to know about it is to sign up for our email. So you can do that on our website at pinkfreshstudio.com. There's a little pop-up that shows up that you can click on and enter to get our emails. Or if you have a pop-up blocker on your computer, if you just scroll down to the bottom of the page, there's also a place down there to sign up for the newsletter as well. Okay, so this is where I'm going to decide if I want the word birthday to have the shadow or not. And I think I'm leaning towards not, just because that adds, because I don't want too many of the gold letters covered up. And I feel like that is basically what happens, is the gold letters get a little too covered. So we are going to leave the sentiment as is, but we're going to do one more little thing to the sentiment. So let's go ahead and grab our pink blending brush and Raspberry Bliss. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a little bit of Raspberry Bliss ink, and I am going to just do a little bit of ink blending at the very bottom. So I don't want the ink blending to go all the way to the top. I want that to stay a little white. So if you have a smaller ink blending brush, it might be easier, but I'm just using the standard one because it's what I have super close to me. And we're just going to give it a little bit of a nice ombre feel, just a little bit of added color. So it ties in a little bit more to the card. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. Okay. So I think that is enough. So let's go ahead and wipe this down. Okay, got a little tape here. And then look at how fun and pretty that is. I just think that's a nice little pop of color. Okay, so we are going to put a little bit of liquid glue on the back of this guy as well. I just do the dot method. You can really do it however you see fit. Okay. Ooh, that's my little Cocker Spaniel. Not sure what she's barking at. She's just saying hi. Okay. Oh, thanks, Barbara. It's definitely a fun, I don't always ink up sentiments, but it's definitely a fun little addition. And it's definitely something fun to try. Okay, so let's get this guy placed down. All right, so we've got a little bit of overlap. Ooh. Oh, her name is Sadie. Okay. This adhesive does not want to stick. Let me just hold this down for a minute. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. Okay. So then we can't forget the tittle. So let's grab, we're going to add a little bit of glue right above the I on the H there. And then I'm going to grab my jewel picker and I'm just going to place the tittle right above that I. And it's a little bit off center, but that's just how it will have to work. All right, friends, after I get this last little tittle piece on here, we've got just one more step. Okay. Sorry if my hair is in there a little bit. Putting the tittle on is very serious business. Okay. And that looks fun. I love that. Okay. Time for some bling. So I think that the crystals would really complement this card best in the oranges and the pink and the clear. So that is what I'm going to go with for today's card. Henry, make sure to post the winner or to pick the winner of the $15 gift card code. Okay, so let's see here. I think we're going to go with let's see. Okay. I think there's a larger orange. Put it there. Just trying to see if I have another large orange. I may need to, oh, there we go. One more large orange. Okay, and then kind of the little bit of smaller, the mid-sized pink. And then finally, one little clear guy. We're just going to do those little trios. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Kinnery. Okay. Hi, Dee. Thanks for popping in. Okay. Oh, hopefully I wasn't doing all of that off screen. Sorry if I was. Okay. Let's go ahead and get these little crystals, oops, glued down here. And they kind of were like little, almost look like flower middles a little bit, just a nice little bit of added bling. And that is our card for the day, friends. And look at, I just barely made it in at the hour mark. So yay. Okay, before I get this flipped around, let me just get these crystals put away so that I don't accidentally knock them all over the place and have to pick up a million little crystals all over my floor. Okay, so I'm gonna get my camera switched around while we wait for Kinnery to pick the winner of the $15 gift card code. And then you guys will be on your way for the day. Okay, so thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed learning how to use the seamless floral pattern stencil for a slimline card. So using it in that seamless manner that it was designed for. Someone is saying they have a hard time getting their crystals to stick down. I just use a little bit of liquid glue, this Bearly Arts Precision Craft Glue, and I haven't had any problems, so hopefully that helps. It looks like we have a winner. Congratulations to Lillian Friday. You are today's winner of a $15 gift card code, so congratulations. Just email me, it's leah@pinkfreshstudio.com, and I will get your gift card out to you. Just give me 2 to 3 days to answer. And once again, my name is L-E-A. There's no H on the end of it. So make sure when you're typing in that email address that it's just LEA@pinkfreshstudio.com. So congratulations, Lillian. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Now, don't forget we have Facebook Live on Thursday with Heather Hoffman, and then Craft Hour on Saturday with Jeff Lindbergh, and a very exciting guest that's never been on the show before. And be sure to keep an eye on our Instagram stories to learn more about who that guest is later on in the week. All right, friends, thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you